Good afternoon. Welcome back to the channel. This video is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own research, make your own decisions. All right, guys, welcome back. So we've got a lot to go over in this video. It's going to be like a general update, and it's going to be focused on the next 2 years. I'm going to be talking about the market, where we are right now, the changes coming. Going to get into the coin market cap situation. So just a lot to cover. I'm not going to dive too deep in this. I just want to mention that the Washington Post put something out about personhood credentials 2 days ago, and they specifically referenced the article or the paper that came out from OpenAI, Microsoft, Harvard, so on and so forth. And if I had to guess what they put out, the paper they put, I did post it, but if you haven't looked into it, I would recommend doing so, because their paper, along with everything that's come out from the W3C, is probably going to be a good framework for where all this is going. Because if you look at some of the names here, OpenAI, Harvard, Microsoft, Oxford, Andreessen Horowitz, MIT, Cal Berkeley, so on and so forth, right? So it looks like this is coming, and I'm seeing more and more of this, and I think we're going to continue to see more of this. And I think it's very interesting. I'm not going to talk much about this, but I think it's interesting that there's no real conversations happening about what came out from the FTC, because if they're really going to tackle, fake influence through botting your account, well, that is a very prevalent thing on the web right now. Okay. That's all over social media all day, every day. And that would be in normal times, you would think that would be a big story, right? And I haven't heard anything about this. But that kind of just speaks to, you also haven't heard anything about personhood credentials in the crypto space for the most part, right? Even though this all ties into cryptography, blockchain solutions, new technology that's coming out that's designed to address a lot of these issues, but you don't hear anything about it, right? And in my opinion, guys, you really have to kind of take the responsibility on yourself when it comes to research and education on upcoming trends, and where all this is going, because the crypto mainstream, guys, for the most part, everybody's checked out. Okay. And another big issue with so many, the convenient avoiding of looking into or talking about ICP, is that it makes people ignorant on the current state of technological development in the space. That's really the problem, is that they're still looking at everything except ICP and trying to assess what's going on in the broader space. Well, all the innovation is happening with ICP for the most part. I mean, not saying all of it, but the large majority of it. And like, if you don't understand why cross-chain signing is a big deal, it's like you're behind the eight ball as it relates to your own personal research and knowledge on the tech in this space, right? Okay, so I saw where Halliburton got hit by a cyber attack too. This was a couple days ago. And so it's like every day. And these aren't Joe's Pizza getting hit with big cyber attacks. These are some of the largest institutions in the world getting hit with cyber attacks. And whether this is 100% organic or some of this is not so organic, either way, the trend looks pretty clear from here on out. Okay. AI is only going to get smarter from here on out, and cyber attacks are only going to get more and more sophisticated and grow in numbers. So the direction of everything, in my opinion, looks pretty solid. And so I'm just going to stay up to date on new developments and everything else. Okay, this is what I wanted to get to, the market and where we're at right now with the market. And for the sake of this video, I want to talk about the next 2 years. Okay, so this is ICP dominance. This is not ICP USD. So this is ICP versus the broader market, even though it does look like ICP USD a little bit. And this is just the total crypto market cap. Okay. All right. So just some things to go over. All right. During the next bear market, we will likely see the implementation of verifiable credentials. I think that we're seeing the beginning of it right now. Okay. Or we'll see the implementation continued into the bear market. And that's the thing about the adoption process of the technology, guys. Regardless of what's happening with the market, that's all moving at its own pace, irrespective of what's happening with the market. Okay. And this is the big thing, is that there's going to be about a 2-year period of time, 2 to 3 years, right, where all this technology goes from being this risky, speculative tech bet to being an essential service provider for countries, large institutions, so on and so forth. Like, the conversation is going to change that drastically within a period of about 2 or 3 years, in my opinion. I think they'll still keep dark clouds of suspicion over parts of the space, just to scare retail and try to keep, people from fully capitalizing on the opportunity. But I do think that we're going to see that shift where it's viewed as a risky speculative tech bet. And within about 2 or 3 years, I think that a lot of this is going to come from having universal use cases like identity solutions, irrespective of what I or you might think about all that, right? I think that we're going to see that shift, and it's going to start to be viewed as an essential service provider for many countries and large institutions. And at that point, the conversation changes, in my opinion. We're not sitting here, everybody's not just shit posting and posting memes, and it's like all this is just going to become the new tech as we continue moving forward. I'm not saying that there's not going to be a bear market. I fully expect a bear market after the full bull market. And I would expect anything with where we're at right now and just in general for the rest of the cycle. Tons of shakeouts, volatility, upside, downside. Yeah, I would expect anything and everything of relating to price action with this market from here on out. Yeah, but I would say pay attention to all developments on this front, and I'm more so talking about the reason why I'm focusing so heavily on the identity portion of it, guys, is because in my opinion, that's going to be your best indicator for where adoption globally is. Watching and observing where that is globally, like in all parts of the world, will give you a good idea of like where we stand with the adoption process. Okay. All right. This will also, so pay attention to developments on that front, but this will also likely align with the mainstreaming and the institutionalization of this space. Okay. But there's still a C. See, they've set this up perfectly, right? Because we have this going on at the same time where everything is imploding, right? And I'm watching societal collapse. People just psychologically break because of the simulation that's everything that's been feeding to them. But the economic collapse narrative has already been teed up. Okay, that's been building for years, and so all this is going to coincide. Okay, there's going to be tons of crazy shit happening over the next few years. I don't even like just look at. I mean, I mentioned this a while back, but look at crazy shit. Like if you were to chart it just over the last 5 years, it's been going up, right? Well, I would just picture it going parabolic over the next few years. During the periods where there's the most change, you're going to see the craziest shit. Okay, best way I can put that. Or if the trend continues, all right. But there's a sea of endless. There's just endless black swans everywhere. Nobody's talking about the FTC ban and the timing of everything imploding and blockchain being mainstream and institutionalized. This is all going to happen like simultaneously. Okay. So this is teed up perfectly in all reality. Whoever orchestrated all this and design, I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, it's why I partially believe I'm in a simulation. Okay. All right. So I want to get to the coin market cap situation because there's some big takeaways here. And I just want to say that, my take, I had a bad, not say it's a bad take, I would just say a different take, but I had just accepted that this was the way things were a long time ago, right? Like I worked through all my frustrations with all of this like a long time ago. And another thing too is that I've been banned on Twitter. So I was not thinking with like the community action element of it, right? And like the community came together, gave CoinMarketCap a lot of shit, and now they're starting to add ICP back, right? And so that just goes to show that you don't just have to like accept things like that. Um, you should be cognizant of the way certain things are publicly portrayed, but you just don't have to like accept things like that. And I think that was really cool the way the community came together and gave them shit, and now it's like ICP is getting added back, right? But I also want to say that there's I would expect more of the crypto media underselling ICP from here on out. And I think they'll try to do it very subtly. Like they'll try to just subtly compare ICP to other layer ones and not clearly make a distinction that it's a full stack solution that you can build everything end to end on chain. That I think that you'll see a lot of that. Them trying to just portray it as another layer one, and maybe just pleading ignorance with why they're doing that, right? So I would expect to see more underselling ICP, but I think it's a really cool thing that the community came together and actually got that turned back. Okay. And another thing too, guys, is that it has had some positive impacts, right? Because in my opinion, it's caused more people to become more active, and to kind of take it on themselves to get the word out and to do more education, right? And I think that shows a lot in just our general presence on Twitter, because it's not always been like this, on ICP Twitter. And I feel like our general presence on Twitter at this point in time is as strong as most others, if not stronger, in my opinion. Okay. And this is not bots, because like I've been interacting with a lot of these people for a long period of time. So I know that they're real people, right? And if you think about the conditions that ICP has had, I mean, some of the worst conditions since launch, okay, down only since launch, with tons of crypto media largely ignoring them, with tons of influencers largely ignoring them, and no positive price action. Like that's been the last 3 years. So this is some of the worst conditions, and still has top developer activity, still has largest R&D team, still forming new corporate partnerships that, in my opinion, are more significant than most other L1s, any corporate partnerships they have. So, and that's where all the innovation is happening. All the innovation is happening on ICP, right? AI smart contracts are going to run the web. Like AI smart contracts are the future of the web. And it's just a matter of time of letting ICP continue to build out their infrastructure, continue with development, right? Going to, what was it, 64-bit WASM, and just continuing to scale. Um, it, I don't, and when you look at the dominance chart, this is like ICP in its infancy. Like there, it's very possible that we may never see a lower value versus the broader market with ICP. Like, and that's what I was, talking about in the video, the most bullish setup of all time. Like if we have seen, and guys, when I say expect anything, expect even a lower low here to possibly happen, just to further shake people out. Okay. I'm not saying that's my base case. I'm just, when I look at this is ICP versus the broader market, and it looks almost identical to ICP USD, which is so insanely bullish. And I wish I had a more easy way to explain why that's so insanely bullish. But I think this chart, once the bottom is officially in, and it looks like the bottom might officially be in, on this chart, it should be, this chart is going to tell a story over the next 20 years. And a lot of tech companies and software platforms are going to be eaten as this chart continues climbing over the next 20 years, in my opinion. Yeah. So I think this chart will become widely referenced across the entire crypto space, over a long enough time frame. It's going to take time, though. Okay, so we'll see what happens here, guys, with where we are like right now today with the market. Let me check. I saw, Bitcoin moved up over 62. But guys, it's going to be mass volatility. It's at 63K right now. ICP is around 850. So mass volatility. Okay. And in both directions. And I would just expect things to be crazy in all reality. And not just with crypto and everything in the space, but also with everything else that's going on. Okay. Yeah. So let me see if I have anything else to go over. Okay, yeah, I do have a few more things to go over here. Just like internally, like in the community. But in my opinion, it will change over time with the way ICP is covered by the crypto media. And I think that it's already been changing. I mentioned that a lot. It's just going to be incrementally. But, I always adopted a mindset of like the solution is you, or like the solution is me. But I do think it was really cool. The community, I think I underestimated community action, probably because I was banned on Twitter, and I just didn't understand. I didn't appreciate that element. So great job, everybody. But I would still say that you can still adopt the solution is you mindset, when it comes to more education, answering people's questions. Like when new people come into space, don't be like a dick to them. Like answer questions if you can. Yeah, and try to make it easier for the next person. So yeah, and it's led to, in my opinion, a level of conviction in the ICP space that I don't see anywhere else. I don't think anybody else in any other ecosystem is locking up their coins for 5 years, much less 8 years. I think a lot of people would be too afraid to do it for 1 year. And I just, there's a level of conviction here that does not exist elsewhere. And I think this is the most, again, the most optimistic time ever to be an ICP, and I couldn't. The setup is just so insanely bullish. I don't have the words to explain it, but I would just expect anything and everything here, guys, because um, they're going to do everything they possibly can to shake as many people out of this as possible. Because if you understand the size of the opportunity, you can appreciate why that's probably coming. It's going to be an ongoing thing over the next 2 or 3 years. All right. Also, little things can make a big difference. Like just like following other people in the community, like liking their post if they post something that's worthwhile, right? Engaging with each other. I mean, we've seen a lot more of that over the last however long, with a lot of the newer group that came in 2023. And so little things like that, just like, engaging with each other and liking each other's posts, following each other, things like that. It helps on a bigger picture too. And I think that's evident just on a day-to-day basis, looking at our presence on Twitter versus a lot of other communities. Okay. But a lot of that is because so many of our conversations are centered around substance, technology, real solutions, real use cases, and not just bullshit shit posting, which is what you see in a lot of other communities. All right. The institutions that matter know what ICP is. I put that down before I saw CoinMarketCap started adding ICP back. But the institutions that matter, guys, know who ICP is. And the opportunity, I'm at a loss of words for how big the opportunity is here. But within our current group, I do think it would be cool to see more people like become content creators, start creating content, especially some of the more technical crowd. And the opportunity is there if you want it. Okay. So there you go. I just last point. I mean, I've already said this, but I didn't consider the power of community action. And yeah, so great job, everybody. And yeah, great job. So that's really all I have for this video. And that's all I have for this video. And we'll see what happens with the market right here, guys. Again, there's 100-to-1 leverage trading market tied into this market. So that just creates a scenario where there's going to be mass volatility up and down. But I would just expect shakeouts here. And this is the big thing, guys. Okay, this is ICP's dominance versus the rest of the market. If this thing is going to set a higher high this cycle, so the next wave, whenever that happens, the next leg up, if this thing is going to set a higher high, then there's probably some fireworks coming. I don't know when that's going to happen. It could happen next week, next month, 6 months from now. We could go set a lower low, this whole thing turn over, and then 6 months from now, 12 months from now, it goes and sets a higher high. I don't know. But whenever this thing sets a higher high, it's going to be explosive. And in a general sense, getting in ICP when it's at its lowest valuation relative to everything else is going to be, it's going to be almost even bigger than getting an ICP at its bottom USD valuation, right? Because we're talking about relative strength versus the rest of the market. And from what I can see, it looks very likely that ICP has put in the forever bottom here. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe Bitcoin and Ethereum shoot up double in price overnight, and it causes, relative strength for some of the alts to crash. But it looks like the forever bottom may be in here. And if it is, then yeah, things are going to get very interesting over the next 6 to 12 months, in my opinion. Okay, that's all I have for this video. And that's it. So not financial advice. Take care. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video.